In working with Wink Martindale, you did a show called Headline Chasers as a co-producer, I believe. What do you remember about that show? And did you actually get to interact with? Was that was the only time? Correct me if I'm wrong. That you ever worked with Merv Griffin, right?
Actually, I worked with the first time I met Merv was after I had done the second honeymoon presentation. Wink wasn't even there. I was working out of an office in Dart Square, which is across from the Beverly Center. I know you're in Kansas, but it's all been built up since then. It's hard to believe there was an office there. And I had the King brothers and the president of Merv Griffin Productions, Murray Schwartz, there. And I, once again, went from 4 couples down to 3 couples for second honeymoon. And I produced and hosted the run through for these guys. And it just turned out to be a hysterical run through. But Wink, for whatever reason, he wasn't there. And so he missed out, but they loved the show. And sure as shit, excuse my expression, yeah, we go over to Merv's. And so I'm starting over there with Merv, and we're about to produce Second Honeymoon. And Merv was an interesting guy. He's very bright, of course. I'd never worked over there at TAV. It was right on Vine Street. You've heard of, obviously, of Hollywood and Vine. That's where Merv was. And Merv actually owned the entire property of Hollywood and Vine. You know, I mean, Merv Griffin, he owns all of Hollywood and Vine, plus he owns Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, which turned out to be the 2 biggest syndicated shows of all time. Merv made a lot of money. Anyway, so interesting thing about Merv was, again, very bright, but he was fairly short. I mean, I'm 5'9", that's not tall, but Merv had a habit of standing nose to you. So whenever Merv would talk to me about any of the shows, we were about to do Headline Chasers, which Wink, by the way, came up with totally by himself. He was reading, actually, there's a YouTube video where Wink talks about how he came up with Headline Chasers, which, again, just reading the paper, and he just, wait, I can do a phrase. So that's total Wink. And he did a very nice job of coming up with it. And I basically turned it into more of a game. That was really my only creative input. But Merv, when he talks to you, he liked talking to you right here. And I was uncomfortable talking to anybody, except you, of course, Joshua. So I remember this so clearly. I would always have to, when I was talking to Merv, I would have to turn as I'm talking to him and kind of take a step back and talk to him like this. So I was constantly backing away from Merv when I would talk, standing up though. I can't do it this way. But Merv was easy, and Merv was terrific to work with, because not unlike Chuck Barris, he just trusted his staff. He trusted, he got to know me a little bit, not well, but enough that, he knew what I had done, and again, got great review. Murray Schwartz, the president of his company, says, this guy's the funniest guy I've ever seen. And he wanted me to host Headline Chasers, but Wink, I'm going to replace Wink? I think not. I produced the pilot of Headline Chasers with a guy named John Toby Anson. Okay, and John was an old school producer, but he wanted to take Headline Chasers in one direction, and I knew that wasn't the way to go. And again, Merv was Merv. And let's say Merv also, he was doing the Merv Griffin show at night. It's like he wasn't hands-on Jeopardy or Wheel at that time, if they were even on the air. But which I don't think they were. Wheel was on. Wheel was, Jeopardy was. And so Merv wasn't at the studio very much, and Toby, which he went by Toby, not John, wanted to take it one way, and Wink was depending on me to take it another way. Anyway, so we did the pilot. I basically had to give John Toby Anson something else to do, and I produced the pilot. So the pilot's done. I'm moving on to another show, but now Headline Chasers sells, and John Toby Anson is going to produce the series, which Merv was thrilled with. But again, Merv had not been hands-on, and he didn't really realize that Wink was not thrilled with the way that was going. So Wink wanted me there, Merv wanted Toby there. So ultimately, we both sort of wound up being there at the same time. And I believe I got producer credit on Headline Chasers, even though I didn't produce the pilot in the traditional sense, meaning I didn't even have an office there, but I was there for tape days and I was there for Wink. And the briefing of the contestants wasn't important. It was more the gameplay and the way it played. And luckily for me, John Toby Anson and I were very, very friendly. We had done one pilot together anyway. So we were good friends out of the studio. So he didn't mind me coming in. In fact, he liked me coming in because there was a little bit of friction between John and Wink. Not much, but a little bit. Perhaps because, again, Wink wanted me there. I just couldn't be there. I had a prior commitment. So I will say I helped produce Headline. I produced the pilot, but I helped produce the series. I believe incorrectly, Wikipedia has me down with John Toby Anson as the producers of Headline Chasers, which is kind of true, but again,
should really just be John legally.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah, because he did produce it. And again, but he was Merv's choice. And unfortunately, I never got a chance to work hands-on on an actual series with Merv, which I would have liked, because again, he was a bright guy and had a great sense of humor.